Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Alan and I am a makeup artist from not so sunny Scotland, and today I'm going to be showing you my go-to complexion routine. So recently you guys have seen I do a lot of kind of reviews, first impressions, that sort of thing on my channel, and sometimes when I skip out the base and I'm just doing like a palette review or a brow tutorial or a lip tutorial, like on my TikTok especially for like things like that, people will go, oh, show me your base routine. So I just thought I'd create a video that could just kind of always be here for you guys to see if you're ever struggling for how to do your base, how to get a base like mine. I've done one of these a while ago and this is more kind of up to date now, so I just thought I'd sit down and show you guys my kind of go-to base. If you guys are not already subscribed to my channel, then let's make sure today's the day that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss any future uploads from me. And if you want to see me go from this to this, then just keep watching. You guys, when I tell you my filming room is like an oven, if anyone knows of any fans that will keep me really cool without making any noise, hit me up, I would love to know. So yeah, let's start with our complexion routine. So we're going to start off with priming. You guys know that Urban Decay All Nighter Ultra Glow Face Primer is hands down my holy grail ride or die primer. I love this stuff, and what I love is that it gives the skin the nicest glow, but it's not like a glittery, shiny, like oily glow. It's like a really nice dewy finish. It goes kind of sticky and tacky, so it's that kind of like foundation grip sticky technology, which I am here for in a primer. I just find with this primer, no matter what foundation goes on top of it, my skin always has the healthiest glow. It looks smooth, it looks plump. It is of course my favourite primer. I think I've probably hammered that to death by this point on this channel. It really is that thing where if you want your makeup to look good all day, a primer is kind of important. I've never been the biggest fan of primers before. You guys know I was never really the biggest primer fan. I always thought they were kind of con, to be honest, but this one, it's just really is next level. Like, it makes your makeup just stay on, it looks so flawless. Even foundations that I don't always like, that are maybe a bit too matte for me, a bit too heavy, with the glow underneath, it just really, it brings the skin to life. So I would 10 out of 10 would recommend, but you guys don't need me to tell you that because you know, because I don't shut up about this primer. I will not apologise for it. My foundation is not going to come as a surprise to anyone who is not new here. We're going to go in with the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation. Guys, this is the best foundation I've ever used. I am so obsessed with it. I just think this stays so nicely on the skin during the day. I rate it 9 times out of 10. I just think that this is going to give your skin the nicest glow because it's like a medium to full coverage and it's not super full right away. It's really good because I want to be able to kind of add cream products to my skin today. I want to do a bit of cream contouring and stuff and build up coverage with concealers, so it's nice to have a base that isn't too heavy. So even though we are going to go for a super full coverage look, it's not going to be that first layer being super heavy where everything on top of it is just adding more and more layers of cake to the skin. Like, it's going to give you that really nice real skin finish, which you know we're here for in a foundation. So you see we've got a really nice kind of even coverage with the foundation. It's not too heavy, it's not too full coverage, we've got a nice glow, so it's a really nice base to add products on top of, which is obviously my favourite part. We're going to go in now and do a little bit of cream contour. So I'm going to be taking the Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Light. This I really like for adding a kind of cream contour, like sculpt to the skin, because it's not super heavy and super full coverage where you can get really mucky real quick. It's really nice and buildable and it just melts into the skin, so I really like this one. I picked the shade Light, which unusual for me, but it's actually still really dark because the Huda Tantour does go into a really intense depth of shades. So the shade Light has still got a nice bit of depth to it. So I'm going to take on a little fluffy dual fibre brush and we're going to just start to sculpt out the cheeks. So I like to just do a little at a time with this. I'll add some on and then I'll take a beauty sponge and I will just kind of work it into the skin, because what I don't want to do is be taking way too much right away and be left with these big like bronzy stripes that I have to blend out. We've all been there and it just kind of ruins your base. You don't want this to be like a really heavy cream contour where you've got tiger stripes. You're more just using it as a nice bit of warmth and a nice bit of definition to the cheekbones. So this will just give you that really nice bit of control. Take your time with this step, because if you've done your creams right, then your powders will take a lot less time because you've got that kind of base, which is obviously going to give you a lot more dimension than just using powder on its own. So for my everyday concealer routine, I tend to alternate between two. I'll either use the Revolution Conceal and Define Infinite, which is a phenomenal full coverage concealer, or the Urban Decay Stay Naked Concealer, which is a kind of full coverage as well, but a little bit more skin-like. This is quite full coverage, so you'll do it a little tiny bit, but I want to do a bit of highlight work today, so I think I'm going to go in with the Stay Naked. So I'm going to start off with the 40NN, which is the slightly darker of the shade. For reference, my foundation shade is a 41NN, so these are pretty much a perfect match, but this is a bit more light, just a little bit lighter. And then I'll use a touch of the 30 just to go in and do a bit of highlight work. And this is also why I didn't do too thick a layer of foundation, because I knew I was going to be building up coverage using concealers, cream contours, all that sort of stuff. Sometimes it can be really tempting just to put on a really thick layer of foundation, and then when you start adding like your cream contour, your concealer, all that stuff on top, your face is full coverage before you've even got to add in powder. So if you keep your liquids that little bit sheerer, and then when you build up your coverage using powder products on top, it's just going to give it a really nice seamless finish without being too cakey. I like to let my concealer just sit for a second just to let the kind of coverage intensify. It's kind of like letting your paint dry a little bit. So I'll have a little bit of a coffee break and then we'll blend it out. You'll notice I did blend out the forehead concealer really quickly. I don't like that to sit for too long because then you can get that kind of white circle on your forehead, which is really hard to blend out. But now we will just go in and start to blend out our concealer. So when you blend out your concealer, you don't want to be like swiping. You never want to kind of follow this direction in your eyes because it'll encourage your concealer to sink into any lines. What I'm doing is I'm just really pressing that in, and by pressing it in, the coverage is going to stay where I've put it. It's not going to spread too much and go kind of sheer. So at this point, normally I would go in and bake, but I like to now, I touched on this on a few videos ago, I like to actually go in and use a bit of pressed powder to set my under eyes first of all. So we take the MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade NC15, which is a pretty light shade, and I just take a little bit, like barely any on my brush, and just really press that into the under eyes. Start a bit further away than right underneath, because obviously the closer to your lower lash line, the thinner the skin is, so the less product you want there, because the heavier the product you use, the more likely it is to crease. So this gives me time to kind of go in and take my time like bronzing my face and stuff before I do bake with loose powder, but this just smooths everything out and sets that concealer down so it's got no time to crease, which is a really great tip. But like I said, with this, it is a little tiny dusting. Like, I'm going back and forward with the brush quite a lot, but there's barely any product on it, so it's all about just kind of pushing that powder into the concealer so that everything looks super flawless. Then what you can do is you can take your beauty sponge again on the angled side that you use to blend out your cream contour and go over the edges, just in case the concealer has overpowered that. We don't want to lose the sculpt that we've created. Then we're going to go in and do a little bit of bronze slash contouring. I'm using the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Dark Deepest, which I have slept on this bronzer for so long. I spoke about this again in my last video, but I never really was a big fan of the MAC bronzers, and then I just used Marks one day and I was literally like, why have I not been using this? This is amazing. So I'm back on that hype. This is such a nice bronzer because it was not super matte. It's got a slight kind of sheen to it, so it will look really nice and healthy and bronzy as opposed to mucky and orange. I'm using a really puffy brush, and I don't know if you can see on camera, but this brush is barely touching my skin. I'm holding it really far back and I'm using it really light pressure because I don't want to disturb that cream contour underneath, and we're just kind of slightly tickling over the edge of where we apply the cream contour. So it means we don't actually need to use a powder contour for this. We can just use the cream as the contour and then a little bit of this bronzer just to really warm things up. But that's given my cheeks a really nice bit of definition. Like I said, I was using really light pressure, so the brush, it was only really the very tips of the brush that were touching my skin, and it was almost just like tickling it, just to really give us a really seamless finish. I'm really trying to be less heavy-handed with the application of my makeup. Trying. Doesn't mean it always succeeds, but I can definitely try. And then I'm going to just take a little bit of the bronzer. Just do the nose. I don't mind if it actually goes over the tip of the nose because I'm going to then go in and highlight anyway. But just kind of bronze that nose. And of course a little bit around the forehead, just anywhere you applied the cream. So that's us done most of our kind of matte products. We are sculpted, we are bronzed. So I'm going to go in and carve everything into a little bit of loose powder just to really give some shape to the skin. This is of course the favourite part of my makeup routine every day, a good old fashioned bake. For my loose powders, there's two that I alternate between most days, the I Heart Revolution Peach or the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter in the butter. I used Peach in my last video, so we're going to use Fenty today. Fenty is super brightening, it's so finely milled. I love this stuff. I really want to try the Fenty powder foundation actually, that's going to be on my shopping list. That, the new Huda foundation, the new Morphe foundation looks really good as well. So yeah, if those brands are watching and they want to send me it, I won't complain. We start off, oh how therapeutic is that, snatching the nose. Then once we've got that highlight area pressed in, just use the damp sponge. This is the Real Techniques powder sponge, and I make sure I look right up at the ceiling so that I can get right into that under eye with no time for it to crease. Now what I always like to do before I start to set is I always take my brush and I just dust off the edges because I don't want this to dry in a harsh line, because what you'll find if it does dry into a harsher line here, like your highlight will just not look nice when you go to apply that. So just make sure that it's really blended into the skin here, and then we'll carve out the cheekbone. You'll see how doing that just really starts to snatch the face. Always bronze with the ears. Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to let this bake sit for a second. I actually want to put a little bit just through the centre of my nose just to highlight that as well. I've seen Makeup Sheila do this a few times, and her nose contour is always just impeccable. And then what you do is you actually just take off the excess powder off the brush and you almost carve it into shape while it is still baking. Just that little kind of... Yes, so what I'm going to do now, because you guys have seen me do this so many times, I'm going to just do my brows off camera. I literally use two products, Urban Decay Subversion to fluff them up, Urban Decay Brow Blade to fill them in with some little hair strokes. You guys have seen it a million times, I've done it on this channel so many times, so yeah. I'm going to jump off camera, do this, and then I'll come back here and we will clean away the bake and finish the base. Okay, brows are on, super quick, super easy, you know the drill. So we're going to go in and we're going to just blend away our bake. So I like to start with the cheekbone first and really pull that away first. Always kind of blend it upwards so that we're kind of lifting as we go. And then we're going to start to take away anything on the under eyes. So when you're blending away your under eyes, it's really important, don't swipe. You want to kind of almost press and lift at first, and then slowly use that almost like a matte highlighter, just to really build things up. But by doing this with the excess powder, it is going to really intensify your cheekbones, so really nice. So this will just give you that nice bit of lift. Take any excess product as well, just through like anywhere you would tend to crease, like smile lines, forehead, that sort of area, and then just blend away what's left on the nose. And you'll see that this looks super flawless. You could go on top of this with like a light pressed powder if you wanted to really intensify and brighten the coverage, but I'm not going to do that today. We're going to go in and do a little bit of highlighting now, but I've actually got a highlighter that I got for Christmas that I'm obsessed with. This is the Too Faced Turn Up the Light Complexion Enhancing Highlighting Palette, and you'll see in here you get three. So you've got your kind of soft focus powder, which is big, and these are very like hourglass vibes. You've got your glow highlighter, and then you've got your dazzle highlighter. So the idea is you can have one on their own, build them up and layer them, but I really like it for this kind of soft focus powder. It's not got a lot of coverage to it, it's more of a sheer, but it's nice just to give your skin that really nice kind of healthy glow. I've got this as well in a lighter shade and in a more kind of bronzy shade. The bronzy shade would be really nice for setting with, but I didn't think. So again, we're just going to take a really light dusting of that, and then we're going to go in and start to highlight our skin. So, you know what I like to do at this point if I'm going to add on highlighter. I know I like to take a good bit of MAC Fix Plus at this point and just kind of mist my skin, just to make sure that all the matte powders are really melted into the skin, into that liquid foundation, so that everything looks really skin-like, there's nothing sitting on top. It just means when I go to add any sort of like highlight product in with a bit of shimmer through it, it's going to go onto this base that's got a slight bit of health to it rather than anything too matte. Because if I was to put on like a blusher with a sheer shimmer through it or a highlighter right now, it would really just sit and it would look really kind of obvious. This will just help melt everything into the skin and almost kind of refresh the makeup, just so that the like highlighter and stuff's going to go into a more kind of glowy, dewy base. So we'll just do a light mist of that. You know, I like to go with my fan and just fan myself dry a little bit. Another highlighter that I am loving recently is the MAC Whisper of Guilt. Like, that is my favourite. Other highlighters that I'm loving right now, you've seen me use the Fave Nova Glow highlighter. Like, oh my god, I'm so obsessed with that. But this is just something a little bit different. So we'll take the Glow now. This is my favourite highlighter brush. It's the Anastasia one. I find that this is the best brush for like really depositing a highlighter onto my cheeks without it going too far down over my contour and without it making things go kind of kick uppy. I think because it's almost a little bit flat, you can use it on its side and really just work the highlighter into the skin, and it'll give you a really nice kind of healthy highlight glow. So I'm just focusing that on the cheekbone. I'm trying to not take my highlighter too far down here anymore or too far down here. Just kind of really on the actual cheekbone, like almost where it's meant to be. And you'll see that that gives you a really intense glow, really nice. But then what I like to do is just when I take any excess product off my highlighter brush and just kind of go over the edges, just so that it's really nicely blended in, and then whatever's left we'll take through the nose. And I take a little bit just between the brows because obviously we've got opportunity to have a nice bit of glow through here. Because it isn't a super blinding highlight, it's very natural, it will look nice and glowy and healthy between the brows and give our skin that really nice glow. A little bit on the nose, lovely. And then I take my bronzer brush with no extra bronzer on it, and I just go over the edges again very lightly, just to make sure that the bronzer and the highlighter are really nicely mixed together. We're going to add another bronzer. Now, I really shouldn't have to make a big deal about this, but this is my Makeup Revolution Bronzer Reloaded Long Weekend. The bronzers lasted longer than the packaging, but I can't ever put this down. It is just otherworldly. It's a shimmery baked bronzer with a slight gold flake through it. Like, you'll see, it just gives the skin the nicest glow, but it's not too shimmery where it's going to make your skin look textured. It's a really nice tone as well, so I just kind of go over where my bronzer and my highlighter meet, because I don't like to go too blushy all the time. You can add your blush, like if you're doing a certain look and you want to add a pop of blush to match your eye look or whatever, like you can totally do that too. But this is like my everyday go-to. Like, this is my Boy Glam. It's nice, this bronzer, because it's got that shimmer through it, so it will make the highlighter really blend into the skin as well. So I just really like this, and it's literally like not even £5, I don't think, so I would definitely check that out. Everything I'm using today I will link below, so I got you. Do obviously is just to make sure that there's no abrupt line where my makeup is stopping, like where the powder's stopping into the liquid. I always got my Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Setting Powder. I don't think there's ever been a video that I haven't used this on. Guys, this is my like makeup bag secret weapon, because it doesn't have any colour to it or tint. So like I said before, I can use it when I've got on like a more pale foundation. When I've not got tan on it, I can use it when I'm more tanned as well. But this will make your makeup waterproof, and it really blurs out your pores. It's such an unsung hero in the makeup game, but people need to stop sleeping on this powder because it's actually incredible. I really, really, really like this stuff. So good. And all we're doing is just going over the edges of where my bronzer and highlighter stop and kind of blurring it into the skin, and you'll see how it does that without looking heavy or cakey. So I'm going to, of course, set my makeup in place with the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray, because no complexion routine would be complete without this. If you want your makeup to stay on all day, these cheap setting sprays are not going to do it. You have to go, I would say, make an investment in the best one out there. So my makeup's going to be set in place now for a long time. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is, should I end the video here? I'm going to film an eye look after this for a YouTube that will be up soon, so I'm not going to do eyes and I'm not going to do too much of a lip. I'm going to put on a little bit of gloss, so I always like to put on a little bit of gloss. This is the Maybelline Lifter Gloss in the shade Amber. I am so happy these are finally available in the UK. I actually had a clear, like one of those Revolution plumping glosses somewhere, but I've lost it. These glosses, of course, are super viral on TikTok. Everyone goes nuts for them. They're really nice. I don't tend to normally wear just a gloss of its own, but like I said, I'm going to film another video after this. So let me know if you like this complexion routine, if you like these kind of chatty get ready with me's. And yes, and if you're not subscribed to my channel, come on, let's make sure the day is the day that we hit that subscribe button. Of course, ring the bell so you don't miss any future uploads from me as well. And I'll put all my other social medias on the screen somewhere so we can become best of friends across all platforms. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.